All right. So, welcome, dear listeners, to the Life Engineering Podcast. And today we have such a special episode because I invited Meghan Weir to share her wisdom with us. I'll tell you briefly, I had the pleasure of meeting Meghan. Do you say Meghan or Megan?
Megan.
Megan, through a mutual friend, and then had the privilege of being a guest on her podcast. So, Megan, welcome. I'm so excited to have you. And yes, when I look at your work, I was like, wow, completely wow. So please introduce yourself and tell us more about, what is it that you do and how do you impact leaders, CEOs, and business owners with your work?
Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor to be in your space again. I absolutely loved our conversation on my podcast Dropped In. So very grateful to be here with you. So my name is Meghan Weir. I am a business and nervous system strategist. And I'm really passionate about really combining both the masculine and feminine energies to support individuals in really growing and scaling their businesses. I'm also very passionate about sealing the cracks in one's foundation, which I refer to as limiting beliefs, limiting decisions, blocks, and barriers of self, so they can really build that strong foundation from which their businesses, their empires are grown from. And so I do this through various modalities. I've been in the coaching world for 9 years now, and I have always been the one to self-study and become the embodiment of my work. So everything that I am trained in, certified in, is a result from me first receiving it. And I think it's so important in today's world to really become the embodiment of your work. So I'm trained in NLP, hypnotherapy. I am a rapid resolution therapist. I'm a Kundalini Yoga and meditation teacher. I'm trained in breath work, all sorts of things to really support individuals in regulating and rewiring.
Beautiful. Yes, I saw that. And I want to ask you more about the rapid resolution therapy because that sounds fascinating. I mean, everything you mentioned. But before we go there, I'm very curious about when did it start? How was your journey? Tell us about your journey. I think it's so important to share our journey so people can see that it is possible to evolve, transition, change, and course correct, right? Part of living a life of no regret is that ability to course correct. I have to tell you something. Sorry, it just came to my mind. I was sitting with an 18 months, even 16 months toddler on the weekend at my friend's house. And he was playing with 3 different tracks, like mini tracks, colorful, different colors. And he was throwing at me. We were sitting on the floor. He was throwing them at me, and I was throwing them at him. At some point, he threw the track to me, but it went to a completely different direction. So rather than me standing up and going and picking it up, I told him, he doesn't speak. So I said, no, that went that side. I am here. You can course correct. I didn't say course correct, but I showed him he can actually do that. And he did. He stood up, he took the track, and he changed the course. And then, he reached me. And I was like, wow, I know it sounds like simple, but this little kid is learning from an early age that it's possible to course correct. And that's why I'm so interested in people's journey, because often to arrive to that place when you are serving with your purpose and all these beautiful impact you are creating with business leaders and CEOs, often to be able to get there, we had to somehow course correct or figure out certain things. So how did it start for you?
I love that story, and what a great metaphor. Well, my journey began when I was very young. I was very connected on a spiritual level, highly intuitive, very empathic, and I just knew things. I felt things differently. And unfortunately, my innocence was taken away from me at a very young age. And I then learned to disconnect from myself. I learned to dissociate because it didn't feel safe to be in my body any longer. And through that, I developed a severe eating disorder, of which I had for 18 years. So I was bulimic for 18 years. And it was a really troubling time, as you can imagine. I struggled with anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. And thank goodness there was a glimmer of hope along the way, because I was still connected to that younger version of myself that just had that intuitive ability to know that there was a different way. And so I had actually just completed nursing school. I just graduated, and my dad came to me and said, like, why are you not applying for work? And then it was in that moment where I kind of just got down onto my hands and knees and just said, I can't help anybody until I help myself. And so that led me into the space and place of going to my first counselor. Now I know I have deep gratitude for that, but he said, "I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's out of my scope of practice." So I understand that now, but as a young 19-year-old individual who finally came out of the closet seeking help, it felt like I was too much. And so he then referred me to an eating disorder clinic, and this clinic had 11 beds. And so unfortunately, my case wasn't acute enough. So then I interpreted that as I'm not enough. So you can imagine what that did to the eating disorder. It really spiraled me out of control, and it got worse and worse and worse. And again, thankfully, that younger version of myself was still with me. And so I just knew there had to be a different way. And so that's kind of where I started to go into alternative medicines in regards to hypnotherapy. So I really had profound transformation from the hypnotherapy sessions. I then acquired a coach who was trained actually by Tony Robbins. So all things neurolinguistic programming. And that is when things really started to shift for me, because I was like, I get to live in the present moment and move beyond and no longer live in the past. But before that, I might add actually that I went to my doctor, and she then prescribed me antidepressants. And so I want to preface as a once a nurse, so I'm retired now from nursing, but there is a time and place for medications, 100%. But she diagnosed me with the depression and anxiety, and I just knew I had to get to the root of the matter. And so I took this medication. I kept going back to her and saying my symptoms are getting worse and worse, and she kept increasing the dose. And at that time, I just became a completely masked version of myself. Meghan was no longer in the building. So that's when I started to taper off of it. I actually ended up having electric shocks because my body was so dependent on this medication. And then that's when I went into the alternative world, where I found the hypnotherapy, I found the coaching, trained in the subconscious change work. And then that's when things really started to shift for me.
A little bit speechless. Not very good in a podcast. Wow. All I can think is there's no way that a client will come to you and you won't be able to not only relate, but practice unconditional empathy and compassion, because you've been there in many, in different ways, in many places. I saw you offer a program. I think it's from your online programs, that it's about eating disorders and love, self connection with the body.
Yes. Unshackled. Yeah.
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 And I
So,
wasn't sure why. I
yeah.
saw you more as a business strategist, and and I didn't connect the dots, but now I do. So I'm so glad you shared that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so through that, after coming into a space and place of working with alternative work, if you will, not your typical traditional therapy, I just found, talk therapy wasn't supportive for me. Again, there's a time and place for it, 1,000,000%. But I found that I would go there and I would lie. I wouldn't tell the truth because I didn't want to talk about all the things that I had experienced in my
Mhm.
and so it wasn't really supportive for me. And so when I started to go into the work of the subconscious change work, I was like, you know what? If I can get into a space where I am healing myself, I will do everything in my power to help others, because I felt so alone. I felt so alienated. I felt like I didn't belong. As I mentioned, I had the suicidal ideation. I just didn't want to be here any longer because it was too painful. And
Mm.
so I made a vow to myself that I would do everything in my power to help individuals on their healing journey. And so a big part of my mission and my vision as to why I do what I do is because of the healing work that I do. And I'm a firm believer, especially in the world of business, if we aren't going to the depths and healing ourselves, we're going to have those cracks in those foundations of which I shared about, right? And so with all that, I also found Kundalini Yoga. And so that was something that was really profound for me to get out of my head into my body and start to release on a deep somatic level without having to relive any experiences or events. And so hence why I created Unshackled. So that incorporates a lot of breath work, meditation, Kundalini Yoga to really support individuals in healing their body from the ground up without having to relive anything, and to really start to build that mind body connection again and to cultivate that sense of safety within.
Okay, so from what I understand, from what you were saying, you have a way of accessing and the healing power of the body through the body without necessarily having to talk or uncover the events. But you also have a way of doing that through the NLP or the hypnotherapy, which is more uncovering the events. So how does someone know which route to embark with? What would be better for whom?
Well, I know my first class with Kundalini, I was not knowing what to anticipate. And I remember my friend picked me up from my house and took me there. And if I had driven there, I probably would have left because the instructor was wearing a turban, was dressed fully in white, with the music was kind of like sounded like it was coming from a cassette. We're doing a lot of deep breathing, holding postures for sometimes an extended period of time. So I was like, what are we doing? Like I was just really in my head. But thankfully, she had the keys to the car. So I was forced to get out of my head and into my body. And in that one class, I had such a profound transformation, which led me to teach Kundalini Yoga today. I still teach actually at a treatment center because I feel like it's part of my Dharma. So for those that are questioning, what avenue is better, it really depends on what it is. But with Kundalini, we're working with the nervous system. So you're really rewiring the nervous system, and it works somatically. So again, you're releasing these past events and experiences your body's been holding on to as a form of protection, and you can release it somatically without having to relive anything. And so that's why I love Kundalini so much, because it works with the nervous system, the glandular system, so optimizing your health. And it also clears out the gray matter from your subconscious mind, again, without having to relive anything. So it depends on what avenue people take. But if someone's working with me one-on-one or in my masterminds, I really combine all of my modalities really
I
to
would say that's the best,
it
right?
is. Yeah.
To address all levels.
Yeah, because it works. It all works synergistically beautifully together, and so I combine all modalities.
I
Truly.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow. So please enlighten us. What is rapid resolution therapy?
Yes. So again, I practice what I preach. I embody what I teach, and so that's what led me into the NLP world, into hypnotherapy, then led me into Kundalini because I had experienced it myself, and I said again, if I'm having this much of a transformation, I can only imagine what other people who are suffering in silence would be able to experience through this. So that's why I became the practitioner in the work in the field that I do. And so all of this work that I've been doing wasn't really helping me in terms of my dad, who passed 7 years ago, this July 30th. And so every year his death was quite traumatic. And the month leading up to it. So I would put in my calendar, okay, prepare yourself emotionally, just be extra kind to yourself, do your somatic work, all the things. And it's still every month leading, like July leading up to his passing, it was very traumatic for me. And I just felt so stuck. And so I learned about this therapy called rapid resolution therapy, and how it can really work with both. It's a multi-level communication to speak with both the conscious and the unconscious mind. And it really supports individuals in clearing any stuck data from your processor to really clear the event. So you can still connect to the event that occurred, but there's no emotion there. There's no energy there. And so because of my dad's passing, I know he's with me, but it still was so traumatic to think about leading up to his passing. So I found rapid resolution therapy. And within that one session, I became clear and free from the grief that I was holding towards my father. And so this year was the first year, was just in celebration of him on his anniversary. And I just had so much energy and vitality and power for me that I could utilize to live life fully and completely of which he desires for me, right? So that's how I found RRT. And again, because it was so profound for me, I chose to learn it and study it. And I've been studying it like a mad woman for the last 2 years. And there's just, it's something I have never seen that is so quick to support people in getting unstuck, truly. I've seen specialists within this field help people who have been raped heal in as little as 1 to 3 sessions. Like, can you imagine that? Can you imagine individuals that have experienced such traumatic sexual abuse no longer having to be in that trauma of it?
Wow.
Yeah.
And how is it done? Is it done through speaking or?
Yeah. So it's a multi-modality therapy where, again, we're speaking with both the conscious and unconscious mind, utilizing hypnotherapy, hypnotic languaging, utilizing visualization, EMDR, all sorts of different modalities within it. It's quite fascinating to experience it because it's like, well, what's happening right now? Like, I don't really understand how this is going to be supportive, but it's very light. It's sometimes quite humorous, and you don't have to go back in time, drag up big emotions, events, experiences. So it's not, we're not re-traumatizing the individual.
How
And
wonderful to be able to overcome traumas and memories that way.
it's profound. It's profound. And what is often shared is that it's not the rape that was bad, is having to talk about the rape, right? Because mind is perceiving that it's happening right now, when in fact it happened in the past. But that's how the mind works. Is like our mind is very, very advanced. So we have the conscious mind, which is taking in your energy, your environment, utilizing your 5 senses as to what might be occurring right now in this present moment. But then we have the unconscious mind, which is very advanced. And so we're taking in information from past events and experiences. We're also able to take in information from the future, utilizing our very creative imagination. And then we attach meaning to all of this. And this is what's keeping us stuck. And so someone might be experiencing, that rape from the past because mind is perceiving it's happening right now. And so it's trying to get you to do something, but nothing's happening. Therefore, there's nothing to get done. And so that's the power of RRT, is to let the mind know that the event is no longer happening. You're not in this experience any longer. And so the results are automatic and long lasting. So
It's fascinating. I honestly, working with the subconscious mind, we teach our coaches and I use with my clients the theta healing modality. And working also with the Akashic records, it's just fascinating to be able to resolve patterns and overcome blocks. But what you're sharing sounds like I want to Google more and learn more about it and experience it myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it is honestly second to none. And I have a lot of certifications under my belt, as I shared. And again, it's not from a place of feeling like I'm not enough, but I've experienced these modalities personally, and it's like, oh, I want to help my people with this. But with RRT, I'm helping all sorts of people with this modality. And one of my very first clients, she came to me with debilitating anxiety, and in 3 sessions we cleared it. And that was a year and a half ago. I connected with her, and she's still clear and free. She is no longer feeling that debilitation. And yeah, it just lights me up. It just makes me so excited. So it's really helpful also for people that are business owners. Obviously, I'm in business now, so I'm very passionate about helping entrepreneurs and CEOs get unstuck. So we can feel a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm as a CEO. And so supporting people in that as well is just been awe-inspiring to witness what people have experienced.
Well, what I have experienced is that the more personal development and healing you do, the more you succeed in other aspects of your life that might seem completely unrelated, but they're all so connected because As I always say, we are one energetic being. Your aura is not divided in life areas. So you can be misaligned in one aspect of your life and expect alignment in another one. If you are vibrating misalignment, it's going to affect all aspects of your life. If in your business you are seeking more freedom, right? And then in your personal life you're engaging in obligation, then you're vibrating obligation. We cannot create freedom out of obligation. But then people say, no, 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 but this is my business and this is my personal life. And yeah, go tell that to your aura. You are one energetic being. You're not divided.
Yeah.
So that's so powerful for, I believe, like you said, business owners, CEOs, and leaders to understand that personal development is part of business development or part of career development and part of marriage development too.
Yes. Yes. Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. And what's beautiful is that this work does create that ripple effect, right? So everything starts with us. It starts with me. And the more that I can drop into healing the parts of myself that I am not even consciously aware of what is occurring, these blocks and barriers, it really starts to create this beautiful ripple effect within yourself, your home life, your relationships, your community, the collective, and of course, generations to come. And that's what it's all about. It's the ripple
That's
effect.
very true. Part of the reason we come to this life is to heal our ancestors.
Truly.
Yeah, that's huge, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
That's why we chose to be born into the families we were born.
Yeah. Sacred contracts.
There you go. No, but look, so powerful to understand that sometimes if you want to grow your business, the least thing you need to do is work on the business. Is actually what might be holding you back from growing your business is your personal relationships. Next month, I'm doing a training in a corporation for managers. And it's about the 4 pillars to a healthy relationship, how to engineer legendary marriages. And you might think, why managers in a corporation need to hear that? Well, if I'm a company and I want to empower and I want to elevate my team and I want them to perform even at higher levels, then we need to make sure that the human being is whole.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
Right? Plus, you live with your partner. Your partner supports your work,
Yeah,
right? So it's all connected.
it is.
It
It is.
is all connected.
Yeah. And if one thing's out of alignment, it's going to create that domino effect of taking everything else out of alignment with it, right?
That's right.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love this discussion. I want to ask you, you know, what is one thing, because I often find that I wish people understood this. What is one thing you wish more people would understand about what you do or about how to leap or break through? If you
Mm,
had one message to say, I wish you would understand this, what is that message?
I love that. Well, I think oftentimes people are so connected to doing the tangible things because it's like that, then we can understand it, right? And with the intangible things, which is all derived from the work that I do, it's all energy, right? However, energy is everything. And so when you start to really be intentional with doing the intangible work, you will skyrocket. It is, it's really the blocks and barriers of self that is getting in our way. And we aren't consciously aware of where these are stemming from. It could be from past lives, it could be from generations, ancestors, it could be from when you're in the womb all the way up to age 7 and beyond. So we don't know, but it's in the intangible work that is really going to set you free. And it's so hard to articulate what this work does until you experience it because it's experiential, right? So when people hear me speak about this, it's like sometimes it's like people are going cross-eyed because it's like they don't necessarily understand. But when you can comprehend that the subconscious is operating 95% of the show, then you would run towards doing the subconscious change work because that is ultimately what's going to set you free. And in terms of, a lot of people are talking about nervous system regulation and rewiring. Well, guess what operates the nervous system? It's the
There's a
subconscious mind, right? So to fast track this healing within the nervous system, drop into the subconscious change work, and my goodness, like look out because it's game on. So
Oh, I love what you just said. But I have to tell you that that message that you just shared, that I 100% share with you and agree with you. I like to add it something else, because I find that sometimes people can get addicted to the healing and
Mm-hmm.
think that this is going to fix it. Okay, I'm going to do the subconscious work and results will appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I usually explain this. I said, well, we live in Canada. We have, at least in Quebec, we have a lot of snow. Okay. So I said, well, the way you want to look at it, if your car is in the garage and your car is your conscious mind, it wants to go for a ride. You want to go somewhere consciously, right? It's the steering wheel. It tells you where you want to go, but your driveway is full of snow. That's your subconscious mind. You won't be able to get nowhere. No matter how much gas you press the gas pedal, you won't get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You still need to clear your driveway.
Yes.
So clearing your driveway is critical for you to get somewhere. Don't even bother with the effort, because most likely will be either very temporary or won't work. But here's the thing. If you clear your driveway and you don't start driving, within a few days, it's going to snow again.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people, do the subconscious work. It's critical. Without it, it's very difficult. However, don't forget to take actions, because
Yes.
even if the actions are only 5 or 10%, without them, right, nothing will concretize. So I like the analogy of the driveway, because it allows people to understand that working with the subconscious opens a window of opportunity
Mm-hmm.
where you now have no blocks. You're clear. Now
Yeah.
go.
Yes.
If you stay, well, those blocks are going to come back,
Mm-hmm.
because you haven't actually used that opportunity.
Yes. 100%. And to share with you, like, I think that's why I love RRT so much, is because when we clear these glitches in the processor, now you are back into the connection of all of your superpowers, your energy, your power, your intuition, your creativity, your wisdom, all the great stuff, which is then going to allow you to continue to take that forward momentum and working within the masculine energy. And that again is why I'm
Oh,
so passionate about intertwining like the feminine work and then like, which is energy, and then the masculine to, so I would say like the masculine is the framework for the feminine to flow. But yeah, if you aren't taking inspired action, then,
yes,
then we're just going to be stuck in the healing world. And that is, yeah, we don't need to be in that either, you know, because people can become addicted to their healing and then not take the inspired action. So,
that's right, because it feels we're busy.
mm-hmm.
We have a purpose to heal ourselves.
Yes,
That's never the purpose. That's the means to a purpose. Yeah.
100%. I couldn't
Oh, I
agree.
love this. I love how what you share, that the RTT combines the masculine and feminine energy to make sure that people actually are able to move forward and leap into new levels of fulfillment
Mhm.
and purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for example, last week there was something that happened about 2 months ago and I'm like laughing. I'm like, why didn't you just do it right away? But it was just like, no, I can clear this myself. But there was an event that happened and I was stuck and I was just feeling like really powerless over what had happened. And so I ended up working with my RRT mentor, and we cleared it within 1 hour together. And as a result from that, I am back in action with because I have all of this energy, I have all this power, that I'm back like working out and getting my steps in and nourishing my body and taking inspired action and talking about the things that I wasn't talking about because I was feeling stuck in that area. Right. And that's what's so profound about this work, is that it's like, you don't know how much energy it's holding until you clear it. And it's like, oh, I have this energy and this clarity now to do the thing that I've been wanting to do, but I felt stuck because of it. So,
Yes, that's right. All the getting stuck in the past, reliving the past holds so much energy in our mind that it's almost very difficult to have high vibrational thoughts and take inspire action. And absolutely,
100%.
absolutely.
Yeah. And,
All
you
the
know, with RRT, we invite our people to think like scientists and think of cause and effect, right? So let's say there's this beautiful oak tree and it's hundreds of years old, and there's this beautiful swing that all of these kids in this in this community have been utilizing for years. And it just brings so much joy and happiness. And in comes a horrific storm, and it takes everything out, including this oak tree, including this swing. And so people can look at that and say, oh my goodness, that shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened, but it happened. So we can't undo the past, right? So it's like thinking like a scientist and thinking all of these past events. It's like we can get into that space and place of, oh, that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. But it's not happening right now. And so when we can get the mind back on track, acknowledging that there is no perceived threat, there's nothing happening right now, therefore there's nothing to do, it just creates so much more spaciousness and so much more breathing room.
So when you say thinking like a scientist is more like life is an experiment, we might have an hypothesis of what might happen, but we might actually end up discovering something new, like perhaps penicillin, right? So a scientist rarely will say that shouldn't have happened, or I wonder why that happened. What can I discover from here?
Yeah. Well, thinking like a scientist, it's cause and effect. It happened, right? The storm happened.
Something caused it.
The storm caused this tree to get taken out, which caused the swing to get taken out, which caused these children to no longer be able to enjoy this swing. And people would be like, well, that shouldn't have happened. I wish that didn't happen. But it's like, it happened, right? And so how can we move beyond that? And to allow the mind to get back on track of like, yes, it happened, but it's not happening, right? So mind gets stuck. We attach meaning to things because it's perceiving that things have happened, are happening, or might be happening.
Why do you think the mind gets stuck?
Because we have, so the primitive mind, which is the conscious mind, we are just like zebras, right? But then we have become more advanced as evolution has occurred, which has created this unconscious mind. And so the unconscious mind and conscious mind are not communicating with one another. And that's what creates that sense of stuckness, because conscious mind is perceiving there's a threat because subconscious mind is telling there's something happening. But in all reality, we're not getting chased down by a lion, tiger, or bear, are we? And more than likely, we don't need to rip off anybody's head with like our teeth, because that may have supported us way back when. But we now have our advanced mind. We have our primitive mind. And again, they're just not, the energy is not connecting. So that's where that stuckness occurs, because the mind is perceiving that there's a threat. But in all reality, nothing's happening. Therefore, there's nothing to get done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
It is.
We can talk about this for hours.
We could.
It's actually fascinating how when we start working with our mind, it's so much easier to move forward and create and co-create our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You obviously work with your body to create things. You use your hands, your feet to go places and move things. Why wouldn't you work with your brain? Not working with your brain makes things very difficult, because your brain, is that supercomputer that actually manages everything. So, but within the brain, we also have the part that is the real boss. And if we don't work with that real boss, we're really making it difficult for ourselves.
We are, yes. Just kind of spinning around and around and not getting things done.
Lesson, message. This is the part we want to be working with, along with also, of course, the body and everything else that you do. Wow. Thank you for explaining all of this so well. So it's very clear for everybody to understand. And I like how we went back and forth and we're able to give different analogies. I love the analogy of the tree and the swing. So, the message can be conveyed in different ways and people can really grasp what we're trying to share here. So thank you for that. I would like to get to the end with a question for you. I know I asked you if you had a message, or what is that you wish people would understand more. Now I'm going to ask you if you had a final piece of wisdom that you would like to leave the listeners with.
Mm-hmm. Well, the world is waiting with bated breath for you to really rise up and shine and share your message with the masses. Now more than ever, we need leaders who embody integrity, who practice what they preach, embody what they teach, to share it with the world, because I feel like the veil is being lifted, especially in the world of coaching. And, there's been a lot of dark psychology that has been occurring. And I feel that the light leaders, the light bringers are here to really start leading the way. And I heard this on an interview that I had with Jennifer Langmore, and she said, move from the monkey mind to your mission. There's no time now. We can't be playing around in the monkey mind. Hence, the subconscious change work is so powerful. But start to lead with your mission, and because we need you now more than ever. Like it's time. It was time yesterday.
Yes, I was this past weekend. I was at the Archangel Summit. It was all about creating your destiny, right?
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Meghan. This was uplifting and inspiring and educational, because I wasn't aware of the RTT. I mean, I heard about it, but I didn't know how it works and how impactful and powerful it is for people, and how rapidly, obviously the name, it can bring change, which I know if you're like me, I love speed. The concept of taking months to change your life doesn't sit well with me. So
No.
if any of our listeners share that, I don't want to take months to change my life, you should definitely check out what you have to offer. Where can we find you? Where can our listeners contact you?
Thank you. Well, you can get dropped in with me on Dropped In on my podcast, Dropped In with Meghan Weir. I hang out on Instagram, so at the Meghan Weir, and my website is meghan-weir.com.
Thank you so much, Meghan, for sharing your wisdom. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Until next time.